An old man brings a jar of tea to the bodyguards to drink for refreshments. However, Captain Yu is cautious and warns the others about the possibility of the tea being drugged already. Just while Lin Xui admires the captain for his diligence in his job, he grabs the jar and starts gulping a huge amount of the tea. Some other bodyguards also join in drinking the tea, and they all soon fall asleep, leaving just Lin Xui and Rai awake. On seeing this, they quickly head towards Mengdi's room to go and protect her. Rie tries to open the door, but can't as the door is being reinforced by ghost tie, making it difficult to break open. Lin Xui steps in and opens the door with a counteracting force using his powers, and they see a young guy trying to harass Mengdi on entering the room. Rie brings out his gun and shoots at the old woman, but it doesn't affect her being a ghost. The bullet goes right through her. Lin Xui tries talking her out of what she is doing, but she refuses. He then summons Little Icy, the nemesis of all ghostly cultivation. The ice ghost fire can absorb all kinds of evil spirit energy naturally. Little Icy attacks her and she vanishes. Rie then goes after the old man and the young guy while Lin Xui remains in the room to protect Mengdi. After a while, Lin Xui tells her to get some sleep and tries to leave, but she refuses to let him go as she is scared to stay alone. After a while, Mengdi sleeps off and Lin Xui decides to practice some cultivation. However, he keeps getting distracted by Mengdi's exposed body. The next day, they call the police and surrender the culprits. The police officer named Ning Lingshan is surprised to know the criminals are ghost cultivators. She wonders who caught them and soon discovers it's a kid. She calls Lin Xui aside and asks him if he is a cultivator, but he refuses to answer. After a while, she leaves and Mengdi continues her journey to Jinling. On getting to the destination, Lin Xui decides to head back to Hainan, since his bodyguard job has now been completed. Mengdi begs him to stay for some time, but he refuses and leaves. Rie quickly joins him, and they leave together. Mengdi meets her grandfather again. While eating at the dining table, Mengdi tells her grandfather about Lin Xui, saying she wouldn't have been able to see him if not for Lin Xui who protected her. She further tells him that she has changed her mind about the academy she would love to study at, and now wants to study at a nearby university. Her grandfather is surprised at her new decision, as it has always been her dream to study at the capital city Beijing Academy. He reasons that she must have changed her mind because of Lin Xui and decides to find out more about him. Meanwhile, Lin Xui heads over to his grandfather's place and Ria follows him. On getting there, he meets an annoying guy named Wang Jun at the gate, disturbing his grandfather to open the gate for him. Ria calls him trash and he gets angry. He sends some of his men to beat them, but Ria beats them in just the count of 3. Wang Jun gets surprised and orders more men to attack them. However, Lin Xui moves closer to him, grabs him by the collar, and lifts him with one hand. Wang Zhenhong, the head of the Wang family, arrives and demands an explanation from Lin Xui and Ria for what they are doing to his grandson. Lin Xui slaps Wang Jun and tells Zhenhong that he is teaching him manners. Wang Jun's mom arrives and starts to make a fuss about her son. Zhenhong gets angry that Lin Xui and Rie are ignoring him and orders his men to teach them a lesson. Just before the fight begins, Lin Xui's grandpa interferes, telling Zhenhong that Lin Xui is family. He tells Zhenhong that Lin Xui is the boy he has been talking about, and everyone gets surprised. However, Guang Jun's mom continues ranting. She insults Lin Xui's mother in the process. On hearing this, Lin Xui slaps her. Zhenhong gets pissed and complains that Lin Xui lacks manners, but his grandfather defends him. They return inside to meet Xiao Tong, who is happy that Lin Xui has returned. Meanwhile, in the streets of Haiti, Wang Yang disguises himself as a beggar so he could find his friend Lin Xui. He is running from the White family and wonders who sent them to look for him. He isn't aware that Lin Xui, the friend that he is looking for, is also looking for him with the help of the White family. 3 days later, Lin Xui and Xiao Tong resume at Haitian Academy of Arts. At the university's entrance, Xiao Tong runs ahead while Lin Xui follows behind, trying to carry a lot of luggage. A pretty lady named Carol volunteers to help him. She tells him that she is responsible for picking them up and showing them their respective dormitories. Lin Xui calls Xiao Tong, and they both follow Carol's lead. She takes them to the female dormitory first, and Xiao Tong heads to her room. As they plan to leave the dormitory and head to the males, Carol receives a call from her roommate asking her to come and help her get rid of the vermin in their bedroom. After she drops the call, Carol, also scared of vermin, begs Lin Xui to come and help out. Lin Xui follows her to the lady's room. On getting to the room, Carol opens the door and Lin Xui sees an attractive lady named Shelby Mao. Shelby Mao, who is half naked, gets embarrassed and quickly shuts the door before he enters. She didn't know that Carol was going to bring a guy along. After dressing up, Lin Xui is allowed to enter and is told that the vermin are under the bed. Shelby Mao offers him a stick, but he rejects it and just bends over to get the vermin. Shelby wonders how he will capture it with his hands and thinks that he is only trying to act tough. However, Lin Xui uses some sort of power to draw the mouse to his hand and he captures it easily, along with the underwear that belongs to Shelby. Shelby gets embarrassed and quickly takes it from him. She thanks him for his help and tells him to forget about what he saw, but Lin Xui acts naughty and tells her that he admires the underwear anyway. She feels so embarrassed. As Lin Xui walks to his dorm, he thinks about Shelby Mao and soon sees another beautiful lady running across the road. He thinks he's really going to enjoy school life. He gets to his dorm room and introduces himself to his new roommates. A guy named Richard Kui, also his roommate, comes in with some documents containing all the information about the beautiful girls in the entire school. He tells them he spent a lot of money to gather the information. Lin Xui receives a call from Xiao Tong, reminding him about the date they have together. Richard Kui is surprised that Lin Xui already has a girlfriend. Well, he thinks it's his girlfriend. Lin Xui asks if they would like to see the girl he just spoke with, and they follow him to meet her. Soon, all the students start to gather together in one place. Xiao Tong, Lin Xui, and his roommates wonder what is happening, and they decide to move closer to check. They soon discover that it's the big star idol, Bai Mengdi, who has visited their university. Lin Xui is not moved, of course, he knows her already, but the others quickly join the crowd to see their idol. After a while, Mengdi sees him and waves at him. On seeing this, Lin Xui's roommates get shocked. They are surprised that Mengdi knows him. Mengdi tells Lin Xui that she is also in the same university to study, and he welcomes her with great delight. After she leaves, his roommates ask him how he met Mengdi. Even Xiao Tong is also curious. He tells Xiao Tong that Mengdi was the target he had to protect on the bodyguard gig he had the previous day. His roommates are surprised again that he is a bodyguard. They then head to the eatery to grab some drinks and food. Richard is depressed that he is still single and complains to Chow, also a roommate. After a while, Carol and Shelby walk in. They are known to be the top beauties in the university. Lin Xui sees them and greets them. Richard and Che are surprised again that he knows them. However, Shelby doesn't want to sit at Lin Xui's table. She is still embarrassed by what happened earlier. Meanwhile, an eerie-looking man named Lu Cheng, dressed in a military uniform, arrives at the university. Richard and Che continue to wallow in their depression. They feel that Lin Xui has all the pretty girls already, and they would be alone all their lives. Carol walks up to them to encourage them and asks to sit with them. Wang Chong and some guys walk into the eatery, and they see Shelby sitting with some guys. Wang Kong gets angry and goes to interrupt their gathering. He tries to bully Lin Xui, but he grabs his finger and inflicts pain on it. Wang Kong tries to hit him, but Bio, a very huge guy, and also a roommate, steps in. Wang Kong retreats and dares Lin Xui to come and meet him at the school gate by 6 p.m. After he leaves, Richard warns Lin Xui about not messing with Wang Kong, as he is the brother of a powerful gangster, Wang Wei. Shelby apologizes for causing the trouble and attempts to go and settle the issue with Wang Kong, but Lin Xui stops her and tells her that he can handle him. On leaving the eatery, Wang Kong calls his brother to help him with Lin Xui by 6 p.m., but his brother tells him that he has dinner with the White family and won't be available. Shelby and Carol are worried for Lin Xui, but he tells them that he's got his own muscle. He decides to call Rie to ask him if he would love to have some fun by beating up some people. Rie agrees to come to be his wingman. Lin Xui assures his friends that everything is settled already and they need not worry. Meanwhile, Bai Yangdong, Mengdi's grandfather, seeking to have Lin Xui as a guest, informs Bai Yi about the fight between Wang Kong and Lin Xui and tells him to deal with the matter. Bai Yi calls his secretary to cancel the dinner with Wang Wei, as he has an urgent issue to attend to. Since the dinner has been cancelled, Wang Wei calls his brother to tell him that he will be at his school to fight for him. By 5:50 p.m., Wang Chong and his guys had already arrived at the school entrance with clubs in their hands. Wang Wei soon arrives too with his men. Lin Xui arrives with his group too. Richard also called his cousin to join in the fight, but as soon as his cousin arrives and discovers that it involves Wang Wei, he backs out. He advises them not to mess with Wang Wei and this puts fear in Richard's and Cha's hearts again. However, Lin Xui reassures them that there's nothing to worry about. Richard tries to support him, but his cousin refuses to allow him to join in the fight. Lin Xui walks up to meet Wang Wei, and Wang Wei is quite surprised that he has come alone to fight him. However, Lin Xui receives a call from Rie, and Lin Xui tells him to hurry up as the fight would soon begin, and he might have to just deal with them all by himself. Soon, many bodyguards gather behind Lin Xui to support him. Bai Yi appears and Wang Wei becomes shocked to see him. Wang Wei immediately slaps Wang Chong and starts to apologize to Bai Yi for his younger brother's misdeeds. Bai Yi tells his men to take him away on Lin Xui's decision. Lin Xui thanks him and tells the White family to give him a call anytime they need him. His roommates are surprised to see him talking to the fourth echelon leader of the Bai family and wonder who he really is. From then on, Richard begins to admire him and makes him his idol. Before going to bed that night, Lin Xui thinks about his friend Wang Yang. He hopes that the Bai family will find any tracks of him soon. The next day, the military training is about to begin, and Lu Cheng is the instructor. Shobi Mao introduces herself to him as the unit leader for the military training, and on seeing her, Lu Cheng starts to admire her. Mengdi also arrives and Lu Cheng admires her too. All the students are then gathered into different vehicles and driven to a location for the military drill. As they move out, Lin Xui senses a strange aura coming from Lu Cheng and wonders why. They soon arrive at their destination. Lu Cheng tells them that the military drill is to survive in the wild for a week. On hearing this, they all start to make a fuss about this, since they weren't informed beforehand to properly prepare for it. Lin Xui sees this as an easy task though. Lu Cheng calls them to order and Lin Xui senses the strange aura from him again. He wonders how a guy with a first-grade cultivation base is their instructor. Lu Cheng tells them that they would be blindfolded and dropped in different locations, and if they can survive this round, then they would get a pass in the training assessment. They were then blindfolded and taken to different locations. Half an hour later, in an isolated place, a female student removes her blindfold and sees a crystal-clear water body. She decides to dip her legs in it and enjoy the beauty of the environment. Suddenly, Lu Cheng grabs her from behind him. Meanwhile, Lin Xui attacks the soldier, leading him to a different location, and knocks him out. He summons Little Icy to go find Xiao Tong's location. Lu Cheng receives a call from Deacon Zheng, who tells him to stay focused on the mission and not mess around with the students. He tells him to feed the students to the monster guarding the longevity fruit, which they seek to get. Lu Cheng carries the student to where the monster is and drops her there while he takes the longevity fruit with him. Lin Xui discovers that the people in charge of their military drill are fake and are not from the military, and after doing a head count of everyone, they discover that a student is missing. The students sit down in the forest and try to keep themselves entertained while they wait for the instructor. Meanwhile, Little Icy returns to Lin Xui to report what he found out in the mountains. Little Icy informs him about the powerful monster prowling the mountains, but tells him it just recently entered the Dao realm and should not be much of a threat. Suddenly, they hear a loud noise and the monster appears. Everyone becomes scared and starts to run. The monster, delighted to see so much food available to him, tries to attack one of the students, but Lin Xui quickly jumps in and stops it. He advises the monster to leave quietly so he wouldn't have to kill it, but it refuses. He then attacks it with Little Icy. The monster quickly escapes by entering the ground. After a while, Lu Cheng appears and is shocked to see that the students are still alive. He'd expected the monster to have eaten all of them. Lin Xui confronts him, demanding the missing girl, but Lu Cheng, knowing his cover has been blown, attempts to attack him, but Lin Xui dodges his attack. Lin Xui then practices some cultivation and quickly takes the longevity fruit from him. Lin Xui tells him that the longevity fruit is not worth dying for, as he used to eat many of it when he was on the Immortal Isle until he got sick of it. Lu Cheng mistakenly spills that Deacon Zheng sent him. He then tries to attack Lin Xui and get the longevity back, but Lin Xui knocks him out in one hit. After a while, the fake instructor is arrested by the police, and it is reported on the news that a college student died, but nobody else except the students knows what really happened in the forest. The next day, Lin Xui jogs with Xiao Tong, and after jogging for a while, they decide to rest. Lin Xui gives Xiao Tong the longevity fruit he took from Lu Cheng and tells her to eat it. He then heads to meet Deacon Zheng at his house. Meanwhile, Deacon Zheng is very angry and has been looking for him. He meets Lin Xui and starts to respect him, thinking he belongs to the Kunlun or Shushan sect after doing some background checks on him. Anyways, Lin Xui plays along and asks him what he wants from him. Deacon Zheng talks about the longevity fruit, but Lin Xui tells him he should have asked earlier before he gave it to his little sister. Lin Xui then offers to help him prolong his life through another method if he would make a contract with him to be his subordinate and serve him in the future. Deacon Zheng first disbelieves that Lin Xui can be of help to him, but when he discovers that Lin Xui has entered the Dao realm, he bows to him. Lin Xui then asks him about the structure of the Dao League and their respective abilities. After talking for a while, Lin Xui gives him a list of names and tells him to help him find them from the cultivation world. He heads back and receives a call from Rie, who tells him that the White family wants to meet him. He heads to the White family's mansion, and they are all delighted to meet him. Mengdi seems to be catching feelings for Lin Xui already. Lin Xui gets talking with the White family, and he asks them if they need him to help with anything. They ask him if he has heard of someone called Shi Qingdao, and he answers no. Bai Yang, Menji and Mengdi's father, tells him that it is not really about Shi Qingdao anyway, but about one of his descendants, Shi Hang, who sought his 2 daughters and desires to marry both of them at the same time. He refused to release his daughters to him, and he retaliated by hiring people to kidnap Menji. They tell Lin Xui that they just need him to stop Shi Hang from harassing their daughters, and he says he will think about it. Since there is nothing else they need him to do, he decides to take his leave and head back to the dorm room. However, Bai Yang offers to cover his feeding and accommodation if he will stay with them and protect his daughters. He sees it as a good offer and decides to stay. He then heads to the Bai family's private residence, and on opening the door to the apartment, he sees Mengdi. She takes him to his room, and after a while, he comes out of his room and seeks the restroom. Meanwhile, Mengdi is finding it difficult to select the dress to wear, so she decides to go ask her sister. As she comes out of her room, she sees Lin Xui and quickly shuts the door out of embarrassment. Lin Xui then enters Mengdi's restroom. Mengdi remembers that her underwear is still in the restroom and quickly heads there. On getting there, she sees her underwear with Lin Xui and snatches it from him. She then shows him the way to a different restroom. Lin Xui suddenly receives from Xiao Tong, asking him to come back home quickly as something is wrong with his grandpa. On getting back home, his grandpa tells him that it is nothing serious, but Xiao Tong insists that she overheard someone threatening to drive him away at the ancestors' worshipping ceremony the next day. The person said Lin Xui's grandpa makes no money and is a parasite living off the graces of the Wang family. Lin Xui decides to follow his grandpa to the event, but his grandpa tells him that he mustn't cause any trouble. The next day at the event, Lin Xui and his grandpa meet Wang Chen, the patriarch's son. Wang Chen tells them about a rumor he heard of Lin Xui being an outsider, and it is not appropriate to bring him to such an event. He later takes them to a table to sit by. Lin Xui's grandpa reminds him not to cause any trouble. Wang Chen calls the attention of everyone and starts talking about the need to cut out the parasites in the Wang family for its future development. His grandfather takes the floor and continues addressing the audience. He says that they should do a competition based on each one's financial resources and connections to find out who the parasite in the family is. He is targeting Lin Xui's grandpa. Lin Xui challenges Zhenhong that there is no parasite in the family, as he claims. Zhenhong replies to him that he will give up his role as the patriarch of the family if no parasite is found. The competition begins, and everyone starts to call different top dignitaries in different sectors and spheres to attend the occasion. No one has come for Lin Xui's grandpa, and he starts to get scared as he doesn't know anyone at all. After a while of braggings from the other members of the family, Bai Yi, Lord Fourth of the White family, arrives and everyone becomes shocked. Zhenhong wonders who invited him and soon finds out that Bai Yi came for Lin Xui's grandpa. Lin Xui's grandpa is surprised that Lord Fourth came for him and wonders how it happened. Bai Yi tells Lin Xui's grandpa not to be worried, as Lin Xui has had it all planned already, and that he has invited more important people. Zhenhong tells his grandson to call more people so they can compete with numbers later. Some moments later, Director Bai Zhongbai from the High Provincial Party Committee office, also known as Lord Third, arrives, and just when Zhenhong thinks that he came to honor him, Director Bai tells him that he came for Lin Xui's grandpa instead. Zhenhong becomes shocked and ashamed. Director Bai greets Lin Xui's grandpa and tells him that even more people are coming. Wang Chen is afraid that his grandpa will give up his position as the patriarch, but Zhenhong tells him he will just give the position to his father or uncle. The benefits of the Wang family will still eventually belong to them anyway. He decides to announce the end of the competition, but Director Bai tells him to wait as they are still expecting more guests. Suddenly, Patriarch Bai from the White family arrives with his other two sons, Lord First and Lord Second, and this drops the jaws of everyone present. After the event, Lin Xue appreciates the White family for honoring his grandpa, and they tell him that they came because they also have a request to make. Patriarch Bai tells him that Shihang is harassing his granddaughters again, and he wants Lin Xue to deal with him. Lin Xue tells them not to worry about it and asks that they lend him Rai, so they can both deal with the problem together. Lin Xue tells Zhenhong that he doesn't need to give up his position but warns him and his grandson never to bully his grandpa again. Later that same day, Wang Yang goes to Cloud Province, still in search of Lin Xue. Ultramaster Shiganian suddenly darts a knife at him, but he quickly deflects it. Meanwhile, at the White family villa, Lin Xue and Ria plan to meet. He sees Mengdi sleeping carelessly on the chair in the living room, and he decides to get a cloth to cover her body. However, as he tries to cover her, she draws him to herself and kisses him, still pretending to be sleeping. This embarrasses him, and he quickly leaves to meet Ria. On their way to the Cloud Province, Ria tells Lin Xue that he has wanted to deal with Shihang for a long time, but couldn't because of his father's backing. Lin Xue plans to hide his identity and hit him to find out his situation first. Meanwhile, at the Cloud Province, Shihang entertains Wang Yang with girls, just as he loves. Lin Xue and Ria arrive at the Cloud Province. Lin Xue masks his face and goes to grab Shihang by the clothes. He sees the monk with him and wonders if he is Wang Yang. Wang Yang soon recognizes him and hugs him in excitement. They are so glad to see each other again. Lin Xue asks him why he is at Cloud Province anyway, and he replies that he came to meet Shihang so he could help him look for Lin Xue since he knows the way around. He further tells Lin Xue that Shihang is a ruthless guy and Lin Xue decides to kidnap him. As they try to leave the province, some men try to stop them, but Wang Yang deals with them easily using his cultivation powers. Lin Xue carries Shihang to the car and locks him in the car trunk. Ria is surprised that Lin Xue came back with someone. Lin Xue introduces Wang Yang to Ria, telling him that he is the friend from the orphanage he has been looking for. Shihang is taken to the middle of a forest where he is tied to a tree and tortured. Shihang boasts that his grandfather, Shiganian, will not let them go if they kill him. Suddenly, a knife comes flying toward them, but Wang Yang deflects it with his powers. Shiganian appears and asks them why they want to kill his grandson. Lin Xue answers him that he is only there because of the safety of the two daughters of the Bai family, who Shihang has greedily desired to marry. Shiganian disbelieves this, saying that his grandson would never do that, and he says they just framed it all up so they could lure him out. He gets angry and decides to fight Lin Xue. They start to fight. Shiganian sees Lin Xue with the holy flame from Little Icy, and he wonders who he is. Lin Xue sends some attacks at him, but he blocks them and sends his attacks too. Lin Xue then unleashes the power of Little Icy and sends it in the form of an arrow toward him. Shiganian manages to dodge it, and it goes to hit the mountain behind him. This causes the foundation of the earth to shake, which then awakens a demonic breath from beneath the ground. Lin Xue and Wang Yang start running towards the car to quickly escape from the demonic entity. Lin Xue looks back and sees Shiganian, and Shihang still behind, so he stops and waits for them. They all enter the car and escape from the forest. Shiganian wonders why Lin Xue decided to save him. Lin Xue tells him that he only came to teach Shihang a lesson, and not to kill them both. He further tells him that his grandson has been assaulting the two daughters of the Bai family, seeking their hands in marriage. Shiganian is disappointed in his grandson, and he apologizes on his behalf. He then asks how he can pay back the favor Lin Xue showed him, and Lin Xue tells him they can talk about it later. Shiganian and his grandson alight from the car, and as the car leaves, he wonders who Lin Xue is for him to have such great strength. At the university, Wang Yang meets Xiao Tong again, and they both hug each other in excitement. Meanwhile, Wang King takes their picture and threatens to blackmail Xiao Tong with it. Lin Xue starts to move toward her, but Wang Yang stops him and tells him to let him handle it instead. Then he walks up to her and grabs her by the waist. She suddenly freezes and can't move. He then takes some pictures of them together too. He tells her that he would post the pictures too if she decides to post Xiao Tong's picture with him. She feels embarrassed and leaves in anger. Lin Xui suddenly receives a call from Deacon Zheng asking him to come and save him. He immediately leaves Wang Yang and Xian Tong and heads to Deacon Zheng's private villa. On getting there, Deacon Zheng tells him about the upcoming Dao League Demon Island assessment. It involves the Dao League taking some demon cultivators and dumping them on a demon island to see if they can survive and return alive. The demon island has an enchantment on it which prevents it from being detected by any human or technology. Deacon Zheng also tells him that besides the demon cultivators going to the island, there are many treasures scattered around the island. Lin Xui is intrigued by this, however, Deacon Zheng tells him that it is a dead end for him since he is just a deacon. Lin Xui promises to guide him in breaking his cultivation base through to the Dao realm so he can survive on the island. Deacon Zheng thanks him for this and tells him that one other deacon named Kui Kan was also selected, but he is trying to find a replacement for himself. Lin Xui asks for more information about the island, and Deacon Zheng tells him about the appearance of the purple living lightning on the island. This amazes Lin Xui, and he volunteers to be Kui Kan's replacement so he can participate in the assessment too. Deacon Zheng, Lin Xui, and Kui can go to visit Yang Fengguo of the Dao League. They tell him that Lin Xui is ready to be a replacement for Kui Kan in the Demon Island assessment. Yang Fengguo is surprised and objects that not just anybody can go to the island. He becomes shocked when Lin Xui wields the power of the Holy Flame to prove that he can participate in the assessment. Fengguo finally agrees to allow Lin Xui to cover Kui Kan's position. Kui Kan takes Lin Xui to the Dao League's villa and introduces him to his daughter, Kui Wenman, who will begin to serve him as his right-hand man. Lu Jiang sees Lin Xui and thinks it is ridiculous to have a kid become the new deacon. Kui Kan cautions him, but he tries to walk out. However, Lin Xui calls him and insults him, which causes him to react and attempt to attack. Well, Lin Xui counteracts and breaks his leg. Kui Kan pleads for him and Lin Xui lets him go. After a while, Wenman comes to serve him some tea, and as they get talking, Wenman tells him he likes younger boys like him and asks if he would like to shower. Lin Xui spills his drink in embarrassment. He goes to take his shower in the bathtub, and while he bathes, Wenman comes to join him and offers to help him wash. He gets uncomfortable and asks if this is normal for her. She confesses to him that she has never done this with any other man and tells him that his master, Lord Sanzan, sent her to come to serve under him. Lord Sanzan had known that Lin Xui would eventually leave the island and head towards the Dao League, so he sent Wenman to intercept him there. Lin Xui is shocked to hear that Wenman knows his master. He runs out of the water and heads out of the bathroom. After a while, he tells Wenman he is going into Black City and invites her to come along. They meet Deacon Zheng on their way out, who gives him some spiritual pills which he requested. Deacon Zheng then tells him about Deacon Zhao, who is looking for the culprit who killed his nephew. He tells Lin Xui that his friend Bao has also been caught as one of the suspects. Lin Xui is surprised to hear this, and he heads out with Wenman. Deacon Zheng calls Deacon Zhao immediately and warns him to let Bao go, telling him that Lin Xui is not someone he should mess with. Deacon Zhao cuts the call in anger and orders one of his men to find Bao and torture him first. Lin Xui and Wenman arrive at Zhang family residence to rescue Bao. Lin Xui tells Wenman to stay back behind while he goes in to have a look, but before he knows it, Wenman has dealt with the guards watching the entrance. They head inside and Wenman releases some vibrational energy into the air to locate Bao. She detects his location and they immediately head to where he is. Lin Xui knocks out the guy torturing him and unties him. As they attempt to take their leave, Deacon Zhao stops them. Lin Xui launches an attack, but Deacon Zhao resists it. Deacon Zhao's men try to come and assist their boss, however, Wenman uses kinetic control to control their swords and places them by their necks. Deacon Zhao becomes shocked and distracted. Lin Xui then uses this opportunity to land a blow on his face which knocks him out. Wenman inquires what she should do to Zhao's men, and he orders that she slaughters them. Lin Xui and Wenman check around the prison and see many prisoners that were caught by Deacon Zhao. They all beg him to release them, but he just walks past them until he senses a strange amount of mana around a guy named Razor of Mage. He releases him and takes his leave, ignoring others. He arrives back home with Bao, and on seeing them, Deacon Zheng asks about Deacon Zhao, and they tell him that he is dead. Deacon Zheng becomes shocked and starts to fear what Shigaman will do when he discovers that one of his main altars is dead. Lin Xui takes Bao to the hospital and leaves him in Richard and Che's care. He tells Wenman that they should head to Cloud City, and on their way, he receives a call from Elder Feng. Elder Feng demands an explanation from him for why he decided to kill a deacon of the Dao League, and tells him he would report him to Lord Shitan so he can deal with him. Shiganian also receives a report that Lin Xui killed a deacon, and he tells his man to find out why, as Lin Xui isn't the type to willingly do such. He wonders why Lin Xui got so aggressive. Lin Xui, Wenman, and Deacon Zheng arrive at the black market auction place. As they head inside the building, Deacon Zheng sees Shiganian and quickly tells Lin Xui to be careful around him. However, Lin Xui goes to greet him instead and heads inside together with him. Deacon Zheng is surprised and wonders how he knows Shiganian. Shiganian asks Lin Xui why he killed the deacon, and he tells him that Deacon Zhou kidnapped his friend and had also killed many innocent people, just because he was looking for the culprit who killed his nephew. The auction soon begins, and the first item is a spirit talisman. Lin Xui is surprised. Shiganian bids and wins the talisman. He then offers it to Lin Xui as a little present for Xiao Tong, and tells him that he should bring her for cultivation too. Lin Xui sees this as a great idea, as it would help Xiao Tong protect herself. The next item is unveiled, and it's a mysterious box. The item is said to have an unclear origin, and nobody knows what it contains. Even the strongest cultivator couldn't break it open. Little Icy tells Lin Xui that he can sense that there's something good inside the box. The other people refuse to bid for the second item since they don't know what is inside it. However, Lin Xui bids a price and wins the item since Little Icy told him to. Shiganian is surprised and tells him to be careful with his money as there are many more items to be auctioned. Lin Xui asks him if he knows the items already, and Shiganian replies that he has seen the list. Lin Xui asks him if there's any weapon among them and tells him that he needs a spear. Shiganian tells him that he knows someone who specializes in making spears and offers to take him to meet him when the auction ends. A random guy named Feng Shouji walks up to Wenman and tries to flirt with her. She tells him she came with her young master, Lin Xui, but the guy says he hasn't heard of him before and offers that she should serve him instead. She tells him that the Dao Alliance's auction is not the appropriate place for him to flirt and should choose another place, but he disregards and boasts of his father having a relationship with the Dao Alliance. He tries to lay his hands on her, but she grabs his hand and inflicts pain on him. This attracts Lin Xui's and Shiganian's attention, and they decide to intervene. Wenman tells Lin Xui that she was just teaching the pervert a lesson, and Shiganian asks Feng Shouji to apologize. Shiganian then takes Lin Xui to meet the weapon master far away in the mountains. When Lin Xui sees him, he senses a demonic force around him and concludes that this must be the reason he hides in the middle of nowhere. Lin Xui tells him that he would want him to make a spear for him. The weapon master, called Mo Liu, asks Lin Xui if he knows his rules. Then he turns away to pick a spear. He throws it at Lin Xui and tells him to show him what he is capable of. Lin Xui is first reluctant, but decides to wield the spear anyway, since Mo Liu wouldn't attend to him if he doesn't. As he demonstrates his skills, Shiganian is surprised to see how good he is. Mo Liu is excited that he has finally found who he has been looking for. He had been turning down the requests of many people who had asked him to make weapons for them. Mo Liu tells Lin Xui that he would make a divine indestructible spear for him only if he promises to one day kill Gu Qinfeng of the Dao Alliance for him, when he becomes stronger. Lin Xui disagrees, as Gu Qinfeng is a very powerful king who he can't match yet, but he eventually agrees to Mo Liu's terms. Mo Liu then tells him to come back in 28 days to get the weapon. He returns to Shiganian, who then tries to discourage him from going to the Demon Island, as even people with his capabilities still find it difficult to survive there. He offers to get him a replacement instead, but Lin Xui rejects it and tells him that he has to make the trip to the island. They get to Ganian's residence and he alights from the car while Lin Xui drives off to settle other personal businesses. Meanwhile, that same night, Xiao Tong notices that she is being watched as she walks alone along the road on the college premises. He attempts to grab her from behind, but before he could, someone calls her name. She turns and sees Carol and Shelby Mao. Shelby asks her about Lin Xui's whereabouts, but she says she doesn't know either, as Lin Xui has been busy. Shelby says she has some things to discuss with him and tells her to inform her when Lin Xui returns. They tell her that they are heading to the library to work on their thesis, and they walk off. Xiao Tong continues walking alone, cautiously wondering who could be following her. Yi thinks that the library is an ideal location to carry out his evil, so he goes to the library. On getting to the library, he grabs a girl and attempts to screw her. Will Ji carry out his mischief, or will someone come to the girl's rescue? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. See you guys in the next video.